and welcome to Cheers to Fears, where we take horror films and turn them into drinking games. We're your two hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Tucker. Today we will be making a drinking game for The Thing, directed by John Carpenter. Carpenter is widely famous in the horror industry for movies such as Village of the Damned, They Live, and of course Halloween.
The movie follows a research team in Antarctica, and their camp is visited by a husky and a helicopter of Norwegians attempting to kill the dog. They are unable to communicate with the American research team because of language barriers, so they get straight to the point and attempt to kill the dog.
Since they are about as accurate as stormtroopers, they end up missing the husky several times and even land a hit onto one of the Americans. After the Norwegians are dispatched of, they end up taking in the dog, which turns out to be a huge mistake.
Again, we have hit the spoiler warning, so if you have not yet seen The Thing, let us first critique you for not seeing the movie. And now, do yourself a favor, take our drinking rules posted on screen now, and come back when you are done watching the movie. If you have watched the movie already, feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Of course, for almost any horror movie on our channel, our drinking rules will always start with if you see someone die, you take a drink. In The Thing, we saw a total of 12 deaths.
The second rule that will always follow death in any of our drinking games is you must take a drink when you see somebody scream, cry, or yell. We've noticed 12 instances of this happening, which is extremely low if you've followed any of our other drinking games.
For this movie, our third rule is you must drink when you see somebody being suspicious.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
With that being said, there were 9 times when it was very noticeable when somebody had a very spotty story or little to no alibi. It is also worth noting that this rule is kind of left up to interpretation, so you might end up having more or less depending on how you interpret it.
Next up is you must take a swig whenever you hear the last name of our main character, McCready. We only observed 11 times that people said McCready, so we had to take 11 drinks from our beverage of choice.
R.J. McCready, helicopter pilot, U.S. Outpost North 31.
We should also point out that we're not including instances where Mac was said, just McCready was said.
Closing off the halfway point for the rules to this drinking game is if you see The Thing, you must take a drink. We only counted 7 full times where we saw the monster, as we were not including forms of it unless it is made known to the characters and not just the audience.
The following rule states that you are required to take a sip when you take witness to equipment being destroyed. This is yet another rule that happens infrequently, but it does break double digits by happening 10 times that we could count.
If you see a fire, you must take a sip is the next rule we have made for our drinking game. This is the highest number of drinks for any rule in this game, giving us 18 in total. This is one of the rules that are easier to spot because it is kind of hard to miss a flamethrower.
The next rule is easy to follow because all you have to do is play follow the leader on screen. If you see somebody drink, you yourself must also take a drink. This rule only managed to make us drink 5 times.
The next rule helped inflate the numbers a little bit by giving us 15 drinks. That rule is that you're supposed to take a sip when you see blood on screen. For this rule, we did not include instances where it was attached to a body and had to be separated from it, such as dripping onto the floor.
Closing off this drinking game, we have one final rule that asks you to take a sip when somebody mentions Norway in any shape or form.
Hey, Sweden! Not Swedish, Mac, the Norwegian.
This can include people saying Norway or Norwegian, just to name a few. This happened 6 times throughout the movie.
And that concludes all of the drinking rules for The Thing. By our count, this movie was relatively low for drinks in comparison to some of the other movies that we have reviewed. The total came to 105 sips, which according to our 30 sip per can scale, comes out to exactly 3.5 drinks. So overall, the drinking to this movie was really well paced because it was kind of spread out and it was easier to pay attention to the movie because of that, which was a nice change for once.
Yeah, I guess the other reason is we hit 105, which we don't get very low hundreds all that often. Yeah. It's usually like 130 or higher maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I'd like to add about the rules is we almost never see deaths as high as screams, cries, or yells. So that was a change for sure.
Yeah, screams, cries, or yells is usually in the 20s at least.
Oh yeah.
This time was only 12. So.
I think I was looking and it might even be our lowest.
Yeah, That wouldn't surprise me actually. 12 is relatively low. I think in this movie, because it is a bunch of guys, and I feel like most of that probably comes from yelling rather than like screaming. You know, you don't hear the high-pitched screams that you do.
That's fair, yeah. You don't have any scream queens in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one person, or I guess one female, that taught the entire movie and it was a computer.
yeah, pretty much.
Other rules that we considered for the movie is I guess when somebody accuses another person of being the thing, but that one's kind of pretty vague and it's kind of close to somebody being suspicious in a way. Another rule that we considered is whenever you see a dog, which was 12 drinks, that one was, I feel like, good, but it just didn't make the cut. If you want to add it in your own drinking game, I feel like it's a great rule. Consider it. One of the other rules that was considered, it was highly recommended online to drink whenever you see somebody's surname or hear somebody's surname, but that's just way too much. So we only counted for McCready, and that was 11 drinks, I think. So it's going to be a lot worse.
And not to mention with that, it's also hard to know if it's a nickname or a surname half the time.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of taking you out of the movie when you try to focus on everybody's last name.
Yeah.
So it's way easier to just focus on McCready. We recommend going that route. And then one final rule that we were debating on including was the helicopter, which whenever you saw a helicopter, you take a drink, and that it was only 6 drinks, and we felt there was some better rules to include instead of that. So,
not to mention it was only like probably the first third of the movie that you saw helicopters. Yeah. I guess one of the surprising things about the movie is that it bombed in the box office.
Oh yeah.
I think it was around the same time as E.T. was released, so it left a sour taste in people's mouth when this was the other Alien movie.
Yeah.
I think it kind of had the same story as Blade Runner, if I remember correctly, where they were released around the same time. They both bombed.
Right.
And now they're basically classics.
Oh yeah. And actually, John Carpenter was seriously disappointed, and like it really affected him on how bad it did in the box office, because this was like his favorite film that he ever made.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of crazy to hear about how this just bombed, and then all of a sudden now it's a cult classic amongst horror fans and just movie lovers in general, I guess.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I've seen the movie, and especially for a movie made back in like I think 1982, the one thing that you're wondering is it going to be dated? I saw the opening scene with like the spaceship going to Earth and then the title screen, like the title card, and it looked not great. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not going to be as great as I remember it. But that was like the only real instance where I was kind of taken away by the bad effects. All the other effects, especially like the practical effects in the movie, were amazing.
Oh yeah. Like the monsters or the thing, organism, however you want to call it, it looked so gross and slimy and like it just looked really viscous, and I don't know, it looked gross, which is what they were aiming for, which they nailed it, I think.
Yeah, if you like body horror, this is probably one of the better movies to watch for sure.
Yeah. So the only other problem that we spotted was on the Norwegian base, they had icicles hanging down, and they were kind of swaying back and forth, which it's possible if it's on a wire or something, but generally that doesn't happen in Canada where we've come from, and that, I don't know, it's something that sticks out to us being Canadian.
Yeah, no, you see those icicles, and if they sway, they're falling. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, if they sway, that just means they're snapping off and falling down onto you.
I mean, at this point, we're just complaining, though.
I mean,
altogether, like, the special effects were amazing.
That's pretty nitpicky, so, like, it doesn't take you away from the movie.
Yeah.
But now that we pointed it out, I bet you're not going to miss it.
I guess some of the other things to add is, so I guess one example is when they were doing the autopsy scene with the thing, they were using actual animal organs, so that's one way they made it realistic. Something kind of interesting is I'm pretty sure for the spaceship, when they found the Norwegian discovery of the big alien spaceship and where the thing came from, I'm pretty sure that it was an oil painting that was used for kind of the scenery there. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out is I thought it was kind of cheeky that they had the computer basically explain all of the exposition on how the thing works, such as it absorbs people and takes on their identity. But I still love the scene a lot. It's kind of, I don't know, it's chilling knowing that there's 75% chance that somebody was infected. And at that point, you just don't know who to trust. And, like, the characters don't know who to trust. Both characters and the audience doesn't know. It keeps us guessing.
Yeah, and I really love that. It's basically a mystery for everybody. Nobody knows what's right and wrong, kind of. And the people are just playing, or I guess the thing's playing the people they impersonate so well. It's impossible to tell. And you might call the computer silly, but like as you said, it works. I don't know how. Like if you think of it from like a bystander point of view, it's like that's kind of convenient for the plot.
I mean,
but other than that, like it works. Going on to characters, I feel like all the characters were really well done. Kurt Russell was outstanding.
Yeah.
He has your eyes if you have not realized.
I haven't realized until you pointed it out, but
Yeah. I guess one other thing to mention about McCready, or Kurt Russell's character, is I looked this up online and I never noticed this until now, but Mac for McCready and Windows was the other guy's nickname. It's kind of the competition between like Microsoft and Apple. So either way, I found that kind of fun.
So with the thing, a lot of the scenes are just straight up classics.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the stomach opening up and making the teeth and eating and killing people. That's like an iconic scene, and it's actually a scene that we use in our intro. And then it follows into one of, personally, my favorite horror scenes is the scene where McCready made some sort of test to see who kind of tested, to see if they were infected, I guess, by burning the blood. You just see the blood pop up, and then shit basically just hits the fan and
starts killing a bunch of people, and it's anxiety through the roof. People are tied up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Like, just that whole scene makes you kind of sit on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, the flamethrower is fucking up. Like, everything's going wrong pretty much.
Yeah.
I guess the difference with this movie and La Llorona is this one has an ominous ending, but it's good.
Oh yeah.
So for Curse of La Llorona, like, they obviously kill her, but like, is she dead? Yeah, she's dead. This one, it's like you never know with the thing. Like, it could have already evolved into somebody else. And the other thing is, you know that they're going to die out there in the wilderness. Like, there's no way that they survive. They destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So they're dead. So the way that both McCready and Childs are looking at each other, they both know that they're going to die, but they're both very unsure about the other person. Like, are they both actually the thing, or are they human still? And that's ominous in itself. So the ending, it ends on like a high note, considering that everything's dead, but you still don't know at the same time.
Oh yeah. And like, there's theories out there about how even either one of them could still be the thing.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of left up to interpretation, and it's never answered, which in this case is a good thing, I feel like.
Yeah. There was the one theory about how McCready filled up his bottle with, I think it was like gasoline or something, and then he took a sip and started laughing, and that proves Childs was the thing. Either way, very ominous. It's interesting for sure.
Oh yeah.
So what's your overall thoughts on the film?
Overall, this movie, like we said throughout, is a classic, and if anyone tells you they don't like this movie, I feel like they just don't like the horror genre, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's just my outlook. It's not your typical horror movie where everything ends kind of on happy notes or whatever, but like it kind of ends on a sad note, really, because everyone's dead.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's a sad note. Like, everyone's going to die, they're going to freeze to death.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But it tries to make it to be a happy thing, but I love that about it.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it's throughout, from start to finish, really, I'm super engaged to this movie.
Oh,
and
definitely, yeah.
And every time I watch it, I like it, and I don't get tired of it. So, I mean, there's not really enough good things to say about it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, I mean, in every horror movie, with it even being such a good movie such as this one, there's always going to be stupid people.
Oh, yeah. Which brings us to the Darwin Awards ceremony, where we award one not-so-lucky nominee the Darwin Award. This award goes out to the character who made a stupid decision that resulted in them getting killed, someone else getting killed, or simply resulting in something bad happening that could have easily been avoided. This award can also be given to a character who is just plain dumb. Here are the nominees.
First up is the Norwegians that attempted to kill the dog in the opening scene. We know that the dog was impersonating the thing, but not only did the Americans not know that, but they started shooting at them and not expecting to get shot back at. Not to mention, the other one just blew himself up with a grenade.
The next nominee is Clark for not trusting McCready to do his test, which he would have passed. Therefore, he probably would have lived if he went along with his idea, but instead he chose to charge him and get shot in the head.
This next Darwin Award nomination is kind of broad, but it goes to anyone who walked off alone at any point in the movie when they knew what they were up against. Not only did they become probable suspects, but they also gave others a valid reason not to trust them.
And today's winner is the Norwegians. Not only are they as accurate as stormtroopers, but they also fail in their task to put a stop to the thing, by digging it up and then basically killing themselves with grenades or by the Americans.
And with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our look into the thing. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any suggestions, let us know in the comments below. Also, let us know in the comments what your favorite scene was in the movie.
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss next week's episode, where we are going to be preparing for the second escape room movie by making a drinking game for the first escape room. If you want to check out our most recent video, where we rank all of the Conjuring movies, click the box on the top right. Or if you want to see a playlist of all the drinking games and movies we review, click on the box below it. Thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying cheers to fears.